try to like be alone. I feel like Paul in prison. That's really dramatic, but I'm like, I just don't want to do anything. I feel like really just bleh, like being bored and alone.
I just
Yeah.
love it. I just love that you put those words to it, you know, like I just feel crippled and I feel like Paul in prison. I mean, that just gives us a great picture of sort of where your heart is and what you're struggling with. So very good. You've thought a lot about it.
Yes.
Thank you. It kind of went down.
Well, I would like to introduce you both here quickly. Thanks everybody for coming. Today is our Therapy Thursday, and we are here with Jamie from Choices and Changes, which is a mental health clinic here in Columbia City. That's where I am every Thursday. And we have Jaelynn here, who is a WEOC client and went through the Launch Women's Business Builder the curriculum, and was in the mastermind. So that's like a year-long program. And Jaelynn just recently moved out to LA to start really kick off or grow her modeling business. And she's feeling a little lonely, and she's going to talk about that today. And Jamie's going to kind of walk her through. And I'm basically just going to bow out. I will be here, and I might chime in with things from the group if anybody has a question for either of you, but feel free to just talk through.
All right.
So Jaelynn, if you start and kind of just say what you had just stated right before we popped on, would be great. Just your Enneagram 7 and how you're feeling out there and all that.
All right. So yeah, I was just saying how, so I moved to LA without knowing anyone over here. I just kind of on a whim got some like prophecies, like prayed about it, and it was for work, to come over here. And then I'm a number 7 on the Enneagram. So is Leslie. And our basic kind of fear, I guess, is boredom. We don't like to be bored or like in pain. And being here without my family or friends, I'm usually always around doing something. And being in LA, which is super shut down because of COVID, it's just really boring and lonely. So I feel almost crippled by it. Like I just don't want to do anything even more, even though like, oh, if you're bored, you want to do stuff, but it's weird. It's like an attack almost. So I'm just like learning how to be still with God and like be content, like me and Him. And I compared the feeling to like Paul in prison, which is really dramatic, but it's kind of what it feels like. I'm just like here, like I can't do anything, even though I can, and like the world is beautiful. It's just I really appreciate like energies around me from other people, and not having that all the time is a very big transition.
Yes, Jaelynn, we know that 7s do really want to connect with people in person as much as possible. And so it sounds like the transition out to LA has been even, that would be hard in itself. My husband and I have moved a lot of places, and that transition time, it's like, oh man, it takes like 2 years to just kind of feel like, okay, this is my community. I'm getting connected. But you were doing it during a global pandemic, which makes it so much harder. So I think, it just complicates something that's already very hard, especially for a 7, to move out and be by yourself, not move with a friend. It sounds like you had a roommate, but now you're kind of living alone. So tell me a little bit about when you transitioned out to LA and what that was like.
So I moved here on January 1st, so this was only a few months ago. Wow, it's crazy that time's going by so fast. And moving up to it, the whole transition was really last minute. It was just kind of like an idea, and then it was like a plan, and then it just happened. There wasn't much thought into it. It was a lot more, and just like, all right, guys, like there's something to do with me coming over here, then like, let it be, open the right doors and shut the wrong ones, and then just like moving on that trust. And I got just like a lot of prayer and like words from other people, and just more and more, even as I've been here, I felt like confident that I know that I'm supposed to be here. Like just confirmation on confirmation, just like everything happening so smoothly. I came here just like coming, not even out of the pandemic, but I guess in the midst, but towards the end of the pandemic, a whole year of that, and like my income being hit so hard, and then just like going to like the most expensive place that you can go. But somehow like God's just been providing left and right in like miraculous ways. And and that's like really comforting. So that's just kind of been like, I guess, how things have been going, is just not really knowing anything and just letting it like play itself. I hope I'm explaining that right. But yeah, did that answer that right?
That's great. I love the fact that you are finding purpose, and you are getting those confirmations. So you're not in a place where you're really second guessing what you're doing and where you are. It's more of a, yeah, I'm here and this is working, and I know that I'm supposed to be here. There is divine purpose. And I believe that too, that there is divine purpose, that you are where you need to be. It doesn't lessen the feelings though of isolation or, yeah, I mean, I think even the sense of missing out, maybe family's far away and friends are far away. So talk a little bit about that. What are some ways that you've tried to cope since January, to kind of reconnect in a way that you can't do right now out in LA?
Right. Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I would say that the best way that's been to connect with my family. I'm really so emotional.
That's okay. Yeah. We're kind of touching on something that's really important. Yep. Drink your water, do what you need to do, take a break.
It's been emotional because I really care about my family and my friends, and I do have like FOMO, like fear of missing out. And my niece was just born yesterday, and I'm so emotional. Gosh. Okay. I knew I was gonna cry already, so I didn't put on mascara. I have lots of nieces and nephews, and they're all like, for the most part, under 6, and we got like a 6-year-old and a 11-year-old, and so they're all just stage of life where they're like, they're building their core. I feel like, children is like when you're really building a lot of, you're just learning so much at one time, and it's things that will stick with you forever. So it is hard emotionally to not be able to like be there and help them like build. But I've been like FaceTiming family and like talking to my nieces and stuff, even they're like little babies, and just playing. And so I just visited home for Easter, and I remember I went up to my one niece, Freya, and she's a little over a year old. And I came in and it was bedtime. Like I flew in, it was late, and she was drinking her bottle, going to bed, and I looked at her and I was like, Freya! And she just looks at me like, no, don't look at me like that. Like she had forgot me or something. And so I pick her up, like instantly tears. I'm like, don't forget me. But then she like woke up a little bit and she started to be like TT and stuff. So I was like, okay, she doesn't forget me. And so yeah, that's cool. And my friends are just amazing. They have like movie nights all the time. and I'm still in the group chat. I put it on silent because, I'm not there, so like whatever, but I come in and then just occasionally say like, hey guys, miss you. And then we make plans to like FaceTime while a movie night, so I'll still be there like while there's a movie night or something. Haven't done it yet, but we just have like the plans to do it. So I think the best thing would be FaceTime. It sucks because I'm really bad at texting and like the phone stuff. I really hate being on the phone. I don't like check my messages. I consistently answer a month later to messages consistently. So it doesn't make it like easier on anyone else too. But FaceTime is definitely nice and talk to them. So I would say that that's helpful, and trying to focus on the now and like hone in on like with God in that relationship, because that would be like my most important relationship. And it's like a challenge really in my spiritual life, because I'm like, what relationships am I prioritizing the most, and like what do I care about the most? And the fact that these are like so painful, I need to really just, it's like, would I feel that way if I didn't feel God's presence every day? It's like really want his presence more and like bask in his presence. So oh, by the way, I'm Christian. Sorry, I guess I should say that in media. So yeah, I would say that that's what's been helping me the most, is trying to like hone in on that. And it's been a real growth period in terms of spirituality too, because because in LA even the churches are closed, and that's been like one of the hardest things, is like not finding a church that's open. And because community, especially community in God, is so important. And I really just believe that so much. And so it's been really hard to like find a place that's near me that's open in LA County. I actually did just hear about one called Zoe Church, so I'm hoping to like try that out soon, maybe this weekend. And so I don't know if that's like outside or what. I have to look at. I just heard about it, so I don't know all the details. And then there's this other church that's planting in September, and they have they are like doing their team meetings to like plant, and so I got connected with them just through Instagram, and I went to one of their team meetings like a month ago because they're having once a month, and now they're starting Bible study, and I just went to the first one yesterday, and I was so excited about it. It's my first Bible study officially in LA, like with other people, and it just felt so good. I remember like at the end of it, I was just like, guys, this is amazing. I was like, it's so good to like be with you guys and like learn and just like be in community and laugh and like have the same beliefs as other people, because it's a lot more rare to find other believers in LA. So it's just like really refreshing to know that like I have this to look forward to build this relationship with these people. So
yeah, it sounds like you're very proactive of figuring out, okay, how can I make this work? I am out here alone, and I am missing family, and I am really struggling through, what that means for me, some of the loss, some of the disconnection, and with so many things being closed, it does really, really complicate that. And so, sometimes we have to sort of identify that in our lives and say, yeah, it does feel like, we're crippled from doing all the things that we love to do. Yeah, we feel isolated from our loved ones, but also from, connecting with other people who have the same faith that we have. I think it's really special that you were identifying just how important your relationship with the Lord is right now, that you're sort of really making a top priority for that right now, because of the other relationships kind of being just not as available. So, and that can be a challenge too, because I know when you're on the Enneagram 7, you want feedback, you want to hear people's voices, you want to give hugs, you want to be just as deeply connected as you can. And, sometimes it feels like, okay, like I know my prayers are being heard. I know I can hear from the Lord through his word and through other people. And sometimes in this stillness, but it takes a lot of strength and persevering to have those quiet moments with the Lord and to allow him to speak to you. So it sounds like you're really doing that. And then the icing on the cake is getting into this Bible study. I was going to actually ask you if there were Bible studies that were going on, maybe even on Zoom with some of the churches that you could connect with. So that's really exciting that they're doing it in person.
Mhm. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, like just thinking about, transition and really, I think sometimes there's that grief component that I think we touched on a little bit with not being connected with family as much and missing out on the developmental stages of your nieces and nephews. And some of that can be really hard. So I'm curious if you kind of recognize that as grief, of sort of having to release some of that loss and in this transition time.
Mm. I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have recognized that as grief. Um, no, I don't think that I've looked at it that way. Um, I've just kind of been trying to like focus on like when I'll see them next and on the goodness of life in general, instead of like grieving, I guess, on that. Because I guess I haven't looked at it like a loss, like I'm not losing them, I might be um, losing like some experiences, but I'm not like losing them, I guess. So I haven't looked at it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So grief can just come to us in so many different ways. And sometimes it can be just the loss of what you thought would happen. I think about, we all really have sort of had to grieve what we've lost in the last year through the pandemic and just the things that we've had to say no to. Or that we haven't been able to say yes to. So I just love the idea that, that grief can be so much more than, a loved one passing away, but, we really can sort of grieve the moments that we just hoped we would have and we didn't get to have, or, yeah. So, I think sometimes the emotion that comes with grief, that it can help us to kind of identify what that is. So, I kind of hear you saying too, like I'm focusing on the positive, which is just an amazing mindset. It's important for us to be focusing on the things we do have and the excitement of getting to see them at Easter and the next time that you'll get to see them. But I think sometimes in our culture, we sort of push the negative emotions aside and we say, well, we shouldn't really feel those that much because we really need to remain in the joy. We really need to remain in the hope and remain in yeah, just the positive emotions. And so, I think sometimes that's where when we stick with the positive emotions, we can lose out on just kind of fully experiencing whatever negative emotion is there that kind of needs our attention. So I don't know if this has happened to you before, but I try to stay positive too. And sometimes it's like, yeah, but that loss, that sense of loss, that sense of hurt is really needing my attention.
Mm.
And so I don't give attention to that, whether it's just some mindfulness of like checking in with myself, or if it's journaling, or if it's drawing, in some way to sort of access that negative emotion. It like needs our attention when we don't really have time to give it attention. And so, the practice even in the evening before you go to bed of like, what did I experience today? And although I want to have this positive mindset and keep the joy in my heart and the things that I'm learning and the ways that I'm growing, I also need to give a little bit of attention to the negative too. And I should say the so-called negative emotions, because all emotions are God-given and they're important for us to experience the full range of those, for us to kind of identify where we are and how we feel.
Mm, that's good. Yeah, yeah, you're really right. I this is crazy that I just haven't even thought about that recently. Um, a while ago, I like went through something that made me really sit down and get connected with my emotions and grieve things that I never grieved before. Like, I mean, years worth of things that I just never sat down to even grieve or anything. It was just like, all right, bye. And that really that taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself, and why I am the way I am, or why I react or fear different things, or just life in general, just like looking at how different things have affected me or not affected me, or yeah. So I think, yeah, you're right. It's very important to pay attention to anything negative too, instead of ignoring it. It's kind of like in the scripture it says, know your God, but know your enemy too. So like say if you're looking at like lightness and darkness, then it's like knowing the light and knowing the dark as well. So and then like we were reading at the Bible study yesterday, in John 1, and it was talking about, there's a scripture, it's John 1 something within the first words, but it said that darkness doesn't comprehend lightness. And that just really spoke out to me, because it's like, okay, if darkness can't understand light, then to like fight darkness, we need to understand the light. But and then like I'm kind of going on a tangent. My mind's going in different ways now. But it's like, yeah, I think just understanding both sides is really what can bring the light. So yeah, that's good. I just didn't even think about that. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. It's neat when different things we're hearing kind of connect together, and it's like, oh yeah, this gives me a greater understanding for, what more the negative emotions, how they can even be helpful in navigating. Sometimes we think too, like, yeah, if I have all these negative emotions, maybe I'm grieving, and maybe some of the emotions are isolation or loneliness, or even just being frustrated with the rules. I know in Indiana we're sort of opening up a little bit more, and so there's a little bit more freedom. So you might have experienced that at home and then moved out to LA and went, what's happening? Like everything's way more than what
Very
it is
true.
at home. Yeah. So but I love the idea of like we do this. I do this a lot with my clients at the office, but we do a lot of like remembering that emotions are kind of like waves in the ocean. And we can sometimes let those emotions, sometimes they're complicated and they come more than one at a time, but sometimes there is that wave of loneliness that rolls over us, and it might even knock us down and get us sandy, and where we have to sort of reset and get back up. The idea of riding the wave of emotion, though, is that understanding, just like the ocean wave, it's going to come, but it's also going to go. And just because we're experiencing that doesn't mean that we have to hold on to it. Doesn't mean that we have to make it become part of who we are. I'm not forever going to be isolated. I'm not an isolated person just because I'm experiencing this emotion of isolation. But we sort of allow it to come and don't judge it. I think sometimes with the negative emotions, we want to judge it and say, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have the joy of the Lord. I'm not supposed to feel this negative emotion. But really the Lord has allowed that to come to us so that we can fully experience life and fully know that, yes, I can feel the isolation. I can let it come. I can let it go. And I know that the joy will come, the another wave will come, and there might be a more positive emotion that comes with that. So,
Mm,
yeah.
that's good. That's beautiful.
Yeah. You're in LA, so the whole ocean thing makes a lot of sense right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like finances have not been a huge challenge for you moving out to LA.
Yeah, not really. I'm definitely not like, thriving. Like I can't just like be going out to eat every day and all that because I'm still building over here. But yeah, it hasn't been like a really big hindrance. No. God's just been providing like left and right, and I also have like support system and everything, and like clientele's building faster than I thought it would, which is really nice. And so yeah, it's been going smoothly. It's been provided exactly everything that I need. A crazy story. I was staying at an Airbnb, and I was planning to stay at this Airbnb for a few months and like check out the place. Just go to maybe different ones, but at least this one for a few months and just like check out the city, what's the good areas, what's not, like where do I want to live, what's convenient, where am I going the most often. And my Airbnb host like knew that, but then at the end of the first month, because he wanted to do it month by month basis, in case I was a psycho, which totally makes sense. Just see how the first month goes and then extend. So then at the end of the first month, the morning of, and I had been talking to the host about how like I haven't found a place and I'm just staying and like looking around. The morning of, he goes, "Hey, like I hope you enjoyed your stay. Like I need you out by 11." I'm like, "What?" And so then, yes, and I had all my stuff like unpacked. I was like, I had more stuff than what I had no boxes or anything. I'm like, what? So then I had to like just figure it out. I didn't know anybody. This is my first month. I didn't know anybody. So then I was just like, scrambling, and I was trying to stay calm. I'm just breathing. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I started praying. I was like, all right, God. I was like, you told me I'm supposed to be out here. So you gotta, make sure I'm not homeless out here. And so I'm out here like, okay. And so then I started calling a bunch of different people. Someone from Fort Wayne connected me with someone that just moved to California, just like an hour or so south from LA County. And he was actually from Fort Wayne too. And he was staying at an Airbnb because he had just moved there. And he was so generous and just let me stay at his Airbnb. There was an extra bed and everything. Like, let me just use his car. And he just like, it was just because he helped me and blessed me so much. And then while I was there, I was just scrambling every day looking for a place like to stay. His Airbnb ended that Friday, and then he was visiting Fort Wayne for a weekend, and he was letting me use his car for the weekend. So I'm like, okay, that's amazing, like perfect timing, right? Except for I need to find a place by Friday. So then, so then I'm like looking through everything. I'm applying to different places. And I'm looking at co-living, which is where you like can rent a room. So you just meet your roommates, and then like the roommates can like switch out and stuff, and you just have a lease on your room, right? Amazing plan, by the way, if you're ever moving somewhere expensive. But anyways, so I was looking at different places, and I was like applying and looking at different places under this app called Bungalow. And in my bio, it says I love God on there. And it was so crazy how many people did not want to room with me because I was Christian and I had anything to do with God. It was insane. I mean, it was just like, they wouldn't even talk to me. They were just like, yeah, we're definitely not going to vibe well. I would not be comfortable with any Bible study happening in my home, like this, that. And it was like, whoa, okay, like, wow. But I remembered the scripture, and it said, blessed are those who are persecuted, like, because of me. I'm like, okay, my place is about to be really nice then. I was like, weed them out, keep weeding them out. I was keeping it in my bio. And then, and like, it just things weren't, it didn't seem like anything was coming. And then I was like talking to my friend Edwin, who was hosting me, and we were just talking about love languages and stuff. And he said that his was receiving gifts. And I was like, oh, I cannot do that at all. Like, I hate receiving. I don't like, it makes me feel guilty. I don't like gifts at all. And then he was like, well, that's how God like speaks to me. I ask God to provide for me, and he always does. And that's just like, our relationship. He's a good father, and he likes to give good gifts to his children. And I was like, oh, and I just didn't think about how that affected my relationship with God, like not receiving. So then that night I was like, okay, all right, God, I'm sitting down here and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask. Okay, I need this tomorrow morning. I'm not feeling guilty about it. I need it tomorrow. And I was like, I need a place to put my bike. I need a place that has a closet, preferably that's in a safe and convenient neighborhood, that has a kitchen, and what was there another one? I think it was like that, and it was like in my budget. I was like, I need this tomorrow, and I went to sleep. And the next morning, I got an Instagram DM from someone that I reached out to, but they never reached back out to me on Bungalow. And he was like, "Hi, I never saw your stuff. Sorry about that, but you can come and look at the place." I was like, "Can I look now?" And so then I literally went over then and I talked to them, and I was just like, "How do you guys feel about Bible studies? How do you feel about like this, that, like mass and everything?" We just vibe perfectly. They were like, "Oh, we'd go with you to Bible study." I'm like, "What?" And it was just amazing. Everyone here is just amazing people, and yeah, it was great. And so then I was like, okay. They were like, "You can move in tonight if you want. Technically, you're not supposed to till the next day after you apply, but like we don't care." And I was like, okay. So then that night, I like brought my stuff over, and then like I was sleeping on this mat because my friend that was hosting me was also in the Navy Guard, or the Navy SEALs, National Guard. Oh, true. We're one of those. So he's got muscles too. He can bring my stuff up the stairs, and he's got this mat that they would sleep on outside. And so I was able to use his sleeping bag and a mat because I didn't have a bed or a mattress or anything. So I'm like, everything. I just had everything that I needed. And I was able to move in and like just immediately start like preparing my room, and it just happened in perfect timing. And then the PPP loan, number 2 happened, and I got that, and then like jobs and just like, it was just amazing. Just everything has been provided for it, like in perfect timing, from food to everything, just randomly.
Wow, Jaelynn, that's just amazing. And I think, yeah, there's even this like amazing closet space too. So,
Yeah. Well, this isn't my closet, but my closet is really good space as well. Definitely. This is extravaganza. This is like goals.
but I just hear you saying it's like every need that I've had has been met and exceeded.
Mhm.
And, I just think so much about, when we don't ask, we don't receive. And
Mhm.
how perfect timing about how a conversation about what's your love language. I don't like to receive gifts, and yet, yeah, your friend was saying, but he's a good father that gives his kids good gifts, and you just have such a testimony in so many ways that he has provided for your every need, which, just gives you that sense of steady. I just, what I see in you, is I think about the bravery that it took to make a transition like this, that it was just sort of a conversation, and then all of a sudden it was more serious, and then it was a plan, and then you moved, and really just not knowing so many of the pieces. You were really stepping out in faith, trusting. So I see, just the perseverance that you have continued to stay there, even when things felt like they were falling apart. Maybe like, wait a minute, what? Like I have to move out today. The very, this morning. So, it just sounds like you have really just walked through this with strength and confidence, which is really neat to see. So, tell me about, you mentioned something about clientele. I'm curious about what that side of your work is.
So how modeling works, it's not like you are hired to a job and then they like always work with you. It's more of like clients. So like different clients, fashion clients, it could be either they're having you model their clothes for their website, or you're modeling their clothes for a runway show, or maybe you're doing a trade show, where you're like helping people choose what clothes they want to add to their store, or you're doing a commercial. It can be so many things. And these different clients would hire you through an agency, and it's like an independent contractor. So the way that works is they just like, there's no hiring. It's just like they book you or they don't. And so it's like just getting like a diverse pool of people that may rebook, or this is just building your connections out here. And there's been a few rebooking clients, which is the ideal client that you want. You want them to keep using you, so you have like more consistent work. So it's been nice.
That's great. It sounds like that piece is really sort of working itself out, and yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed at just your willingness to have this transition and to just go with it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I feel like a lot of people are using the words like bravery, but I don't feel like brave. I feel like it was just kind of meant to be, and I felt just kind of like going with the flow and just like, all right, like this is what we're doing. So I don't feel like it was, there are of course challenges, but I don't feel like the move itself, like initially was a challenge. Like I don't think it really, I wouldn't call myself brave, because it was just like supposed to happen, it just felt natural to come here. So it's, I don't know, it's been natural.
So the bravery I'm seeing though is the sticking with it and the staying in it and the continuation of, these are things I'm missing at home, and these, the friend connection that they're watching movies, and they're gonna include me in some sort of FaceTime so I can watch with them. But those connections, you are sticking with it, even though it's much harder right now where you are to make those connections. So I think that's what I think of when I think of brave for you. The 7 would pick up and go to California, like, heck yeah, let's go to the beach, let's just see how it unfolds. The adventure, the newness, that's all something that your personality is gonna celebrate and gonna be excited for. So the 7s struggle with sort of allowing that to follow through and sticking with, when it does get hard and it's not as new and it doesn't feel as fun. And so it really sounds like you've done a lot of that, where you've done a lot of persevering to sort of work through those moments of challenge and say, okay, well, the way I can look at this now is the Lord is allowing me this time and this challenge, to connect with Him more, and just to really be present in my life and figure out what I'm supposed to be learning in this stage. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, this has been so good. Thank you both so very much. Jamie, do you want to give your contact information if people would like to reach out to Choices and Changes?
Yeah, my email actually is just Jamie, JAMIE, at livehealgrow.com. And then they can find Choices and Changes through livehealgrow.com as well, and be able to get all the contact information they need. So
great. And part of the reason I love working with you guys is the fact that you look at the whole family, not just like how one person may need something, which is taken into account for sure, but it looks at the whole thing. And I love hearing all of that through when you were speaking with Jaelynn. You weren't just looking at one situation within a moment of time. It's how her whole life is kind of unfolding right now. And Jaelynn, thank you so much for sharing. I know as an Enneagram 7, it's easy to laugh through things or to, I always tell my therapist, my crazy hides. whenever I go to her. Like all of a sudden I'm like, well, I'm not that crazy. So thank you for being able to sit in some of it when I know it's not comfortable to do that. And it's our natural tendency to push that away. So thank you both very much for sharing with all of us. This will be very helpful for everyone.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Leslie, for having us. It's been a joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, this was great. Very uplifting.
Yeah. Jaelynn, you have been offering little courses on modeling, yes?
Yes.
Like, do you want to share that information?
Yeah, so basically, you can go to my Fiverr. There should be a recent link on my Facebook with Jaelynn Hinton. I think my name might be on the live right here. And basically, I would just teach you from whatever level that you're at, whether you know nothing about modeling or maybe you're like doing a little bit of freelancing. We would just assess wherever you are, and then I would teach you all the things that like thousands and thousands of dollar model camps would teach you, but for way less than that, and just within like a few meetings. And just I would give you from the model lingo to practicing on posing, the industry information on how to navigate clients and castings and safety precautions, because that's a really big thing. Is there's a lot of fake photographers and people trying to reach out to people that aren't signed, and just the safety of how to go about it if you're freelancing and things to look out for, red flags. And I mean, that's just a tip of the iceberg off the top of my head, but we get into the things that you definitely need to know.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you both very much. Thank you so much. And we will see everyone back here next Thursday for Q&A on sales with Kelly Ambrioli. Okay. Thank you both.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.